I haven't even been down here all week, man. I've been busy running, trying to
I know that's
get some stuff done, trying to raise some money for this campaign, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to get some money raised. I didn't, I didn't think it was gonna be that hard to raise money. Especially when you're out campaigning, but boy, I tell you, it's hard for people to give up their money sometimes.
You ain't lying.
Hard for people to give up on that money. But hey, in order to get somewhere, gotta ask for the money, right? Gotta ask these people for their money. Hey, now.
Political world for you.
Right. What's going on, fam? How we doing? Let me make sure I got all my buttons that I'm supposed to have pushed on this thing pushed before we get started here. How we doing? As you know, it is Dexter Taylor Sunday. That's what we call this. Dexter Taylor Sunday. I know some people caught you during the week also. I sat back and because I don't like coming in and taking people's time because I get to talk to you on Sundays, so I usually just sit back in those you go in those spaces. I usually just sit back in those spaces and just listen, But I'm in a few that you're in. I just listen. I don't bug nobody. I let y'all do what you do. Because I say, you know what, I got him all day on Sunday, so what I need to talk to him during the week for?
Right. Yeah. That was a fun little space we were in the other night. That was fun.
Yeah. I enjoyed that one, and then I got another one that I definitely want to talk to you about on tonight. We're gonna discuss the space you was in with. I'm trying to think of his name now.
Joe and calling them?
Not the one that you was in with Carl, Joe and them. Not the one that I came in and said hello to you. There was another one you was in, and it had to do with black folks. I'm trying to think. What is it? Kody? Cody? I think isn't his name Cody?
Oh, Corey.
Corey. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
That one. We're gonna have.
That was this past Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. You was in there. They put you in that space. But
yes, sir.
I want to have a conversation about our black people who feels the need to exploit what's going on in the black community. And what I mean by that is half these Negroes who do this stuff online, put stuff out there about black people, don't do nothing for the black community. Ain't nowhere near the black community. So we're gonna have that conversation. We're gonna have a conversation, and I want to talk to you also about black fathers and things, because half of the time these Negroes who go online and put this crap out there don't have a solution. I want to hear their solution now. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I want to hear now. I don't want. And then there was this other lady. She's from Brazil. Roni and all of them are always in her space, and she's always dogging black people. Always. That's her thing. Yeah. Never any solutions. See, I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of these black folks doing this, right? Because they don't never have a solution. They do it for clicks, and they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. But I need to hear solutions now. I need to hear that you're running for something in your district that's going to help do something for black folks. Don't just come online and put this crap out there. And you got nothing, but you using it to get clicks and get more people into your spaces and all this here type of stuff. That's not helping the black community.
I mean, my take on it is similar or slightly different. I think it's perfectly legitimate to offer criticism, right? In other words, put it this way: we can all look at us, those of us who look at sports, right? You know what not good enough looks like. If your favorite team isn't playing right, you kind of know it, right? It's not necessary to plan to be an NBA coach, right? To criticize when the Knicks are screwing up or when whoever's screwing up. My problem really is that even the criticism itself is kind of not honest, because it's never people try to paint themselves as, well, I'm just following the data and I'm just concerned, or I'm just this or I'm just that. But ultimately, at worst it's insincere, right? Because they know that they make dishonest arguments, or to the extent that they feel the arguments are honest, the arguments are not properly based on anything,
Right. Right. That's what I was.
They're kind of like that. That's a problem too. Like, and sometimes you can tell, by the way, some of these people just want to talk shit, and that's it. There was one guy in that space you mentioned. Seemed like he was a black guy, but he was just in love with the idea that there's something naturally wrong with black people as a whole.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, first of all, that includes you, stupid. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's the first thing.
But they don't see it that way, Dexter.
No, they don't see it that way. Right, exactly. Right, which is right, exactly. Which is essentially satanic pride. That's what that is. You're prideful. Yeah, everyone else is screwed up except for me. But no, everyone's screwed up. It's like that's the being screwed up is like the baseline condition of humanity. Because the space you mentioned with Corey and them, I think
it was called Why is the Black Community so easily misled and triggered? I kept my cool on that. I kept my cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you heard, but when it's on with the name of the space, so I said, well, I reject the premise of the question.
Right.
The question is based on an unsound premise. It's like, first of all, everyone's easily misled and triggered. Like, bro, as a church man, right? Human beings being easily misled is literally the first story in the book.
Thank you very much.
Right?
Thank you very much.
Is human beings. The second story, right, is human beings being triggered. Right? It's like literally stories 1 and 2. You know what I'm saying? I mean, literally. What does that tell us? That's how we are as human beings.
There you go.
Beings, that's it.
There you go.
Right. And I see a lot of people getting triggered about a lot of stuff, and no one says, well, why aren't, look.
I mean, people are being triggered right now when they're running around talking about black fatigue. To me, that's being triggered. Yeah, exactly. I don't. But here's the thing that kind of also got me about that space is the minute they start talking about white folks, all of a sudden we wasn't talking no more. When dude came in and started talking about hillbillies and rednecks, oh wait a second, we're not talking about their trigger. Let's keep this on Negroes. Let's keep this on black people. I don't mind people criticizing the black community. Criticize all you want. But if you're not going to come into the black community and actually do what you're talking about, helping, trying to find a reason why or trying to do something different, to me, I'm like, shut the hell up. Shut.
Well, to me, like, again, I take a different view. I'm like, I don't need people to come into I'm just attacking the logic of their argument. Like, when people, in other words, someone may make a criticism who simply is not able to act on a solution. Maybe because of their position in life, maybe because of where they are geographically, maybe because they have family members depending on them. No problem. People have all kinds of things in their personal lives. That's fine. So all I'm doing is I'm attacking the logic of their argument, and the logic of their argument is poor. I'm very sorry. Like, people who say this stuff, they think Black Twitter is a demographic. Black Twitter is not a demographic. It's just not. I'm sorry. Right? In other words, it's a special sampling of people who happen to have, the time, the disposable income, and the know-how to actually get on the internet, get on the media, and make noise about things. And so if those people happen to skew very liberal, then you're going to hear people being triggered by a lot of dumb things that ordinary people don't think are a problem. And so, so why are black people always shut? I'm like, well, do you mean black grad students? Because, I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you hear people going off about, well, the Republicans are it's like, a lot of these people are grad students. I'm sorry. Like, a lot of them are like, they've gone through the higher education system, and it's like, okay, you learn that you've absorbed all of the leftist indoctrination. And you learn you're supposed to get mad at certain things, and you're supposed to be in favor of gun control, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to that. Okay, fine. Okay, but like that is, it should be obvious that is in no way representative of black folks as a whole. These are spoiled grad students with internet access.
Right.
So what are we talking? That's my problem. It's not that people are not helping. It's that people are making bad arguments. And by the way, here's the other thing. If someone is reasoning poorly about reality, I don't want them to try to help anybody. That's like the worst thing in the world. If someone is like you say, well, why aren't these people going to the community? No, I'm glad they're not, because if their thinking is that undisciplined, right? If their ability to reason is that undeveloped, I don't want them trying to help with anything.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't trust them to help me scramble some eggs.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I get that point too, bro. I definitely get that point, but I guess I look at it and say, then they can actually learn something, all right, versus just getting on the internet and spewing just vile, crazy, stupid things. I mean, half the stuff that came out of their mouth on that platform that night, that day. I'm sitting here going, y'all some sick, unserious human beings who are saying some of the things that they say. That space was bull. That it was. You know what? It was bullshit.
Well, look, let me put it this way. I was glad to be in the space because I like confronting people who are making bad arguments, because I want everyone to see how bad their arguments are.
Right, and you're good at that. But you're good at that.
I mean, well, listen, I think I'm doing the Lord's work, because look, a lot of these bad arguments gain traction, right? A lot of these bad arguments get a lot of traction, right? It's like, you hear people saying this shit like in real circumstances, like at political conventions and shit. Like big influencers are saying and repeating this dumb shit. It's like it's really I think it's very important work, seriously, to dismantle, to confront these people and just calmly dismantle their arguments. And I'm delighted, And it's better. And by the way, it's even better when they get mad, because they get like, really, you're getting mad because your logic is bad. You're okay. You're mad at me because you don't understand math. I didn't make you not understand math. It's not my fault. That's you. That's your life. This is the internet. You can go get some remedial math help if you don't understand mathematics. Why are we having this conversation? That's how because it's the bad thinking first. It's the bad philosophy. It's like we can't get anywhere unless we have we can get somewhere, but we can't get anywhere good on purpose unless we have the standards to begin with. What do we mean by good? What do we mean by better? Are we reasoning correctly? Are we coming from a correct kind of fundamental understanding of human beings? Because if not, we have no business trying to quote unquote help people, right? So, and that's, by the way, that's one of the reasons why I'm also not in favor of, all this largesse that liberals and progressives seem to want to bestow on the quote unquote struggling black community. It's like, well, you don't know you don't have any fundamental conception of what a good life is, what a human being is, what a good human being is, you know, what a family is, you know. So how can you help? Helping someone requires some intimate knowledge of their circumstances. You don't know and you don't want to know. So, yeah, don't help. Don't help. And as a matter of fact, as a general rule, I would say the less help, the better. Because keep in mind, Democrats have been helping black folks for like decades now. And, like, it's not helping them. You know what I'm saying? It's really not helping.
Right. I mean mainly, yeah. So Doc said, I find trigger people hilarious. Right.
You have 1 minute left.
They are hilarious.
He said they're hilarious, but then he also said pandering the same tired talking points. They should be mocked, and he's right. I mean, it's the same tired, literally talking points that they always have about black people. Is nuts. But you got the minute you wanna.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and drop and come back.
Okay.
And then we'll continue chopping it up.
Sounds like a deal, man. We'll see you in a minute.
Yep.
All right.
All right, bro.
The caller has hung up.
All righty, people. We were just into our first little conversation that we're basically gonna get into. We're gonna go into talking about black fathers here also, with everything. But for those who are new with us, hey Josh, I always have to say hi to Josh. Josh is with us on tonight. Doc said when people want government to fix something, I remind them those are the same folks who screwed up a gas can? No, you got that right. Because I think you know what, Doc? You are so on right now because I had to go buy a new gas can. Well, hold on, let me do this real quick. For those who don't know, this is Dexter Taylor Sunday. We usually get Dexter on, be able to talk to Dexter. I know he was talking to some people during the week on there also, but this is pretty much what we do on Sundays to get him on and just chop it up with him. But let's get back to that. I'm glad he said something about that gas can. So in order for me to put gas in my so I had to buy a new snowblower this year. And in buying a new snowblower, the snowblower had to take what is that? Non-oxy.
We back, Reverend.
We back? Okay. All right. But I had to put this non-oxide, whatever it is, gas. I had to buy different gas for it. So I had to go to this gas can. I could not get, now, first off, I couldn't get the thing open. All right. Finally, I go on YouTube. YouTube shows me how to open this thing. Then I had to try to put gas in my snowblower. And I couldn't even do that because you got to pull and push this knob. And you got to hold it like this here, and you have to try to hold it and then try to pour it. You're right, brother. Doc hit it dead on the head. They messed up. They messed up a gas can. They did. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, the gas can. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, Dexter. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the gas cans, and that came, I think that came right from some EPA thing where it's like they have to have some special nozzles that keep gas from evaporating into the atmosphere because it's full of, yeah, I remember when gas cans went from being normal to being crazy. It's like, wow, that didn't take long at all.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go to garage sales and see if I can buy or find a normal everyday non-liberal gas can. I'm just saying. Man.
Liberal gas can.
Right. Done liberal gas can on there. But yeah, before you left, we was talking about these black folks.
Yeah, these people.
These boneheads who decide that it's important to them to put black people out on Front Street. And I don't have, and like I was saying before, And I understand what you're saying. You know, we don't want them around. I trust me. I get that point. But I guess I also look at it in this way of saying maybe they will learn something about the black community. So when they are holding these spaces, then they can have a different objective other than getting likes and getting people in these spaces who like to dog and talk on black people.
But here's the thing. People who like to talk shit about any ethnic group, right? By definition, and we went over this, I think, talked about this at some other point. It's like people who like to do that stuff, they don't want to learn anything. In other words, hasn't it not occurred to you? Like that's, for example, I mean, let's take the most obvious example, like a Candace Owens, right?
Right.
It's like she doesn't want to learn anything about the people she's talking about. Is what I mean. Like, you know, her position is that she knows everything she needs to know. So I don't expect her to try to learn anything. Why would I? No. It's like her position is clear, which is wonderful. And what I'm happy to do is to just dismantle her bad logic. That's all. And by the way, it's not even that I don't want those people around. It's just that, like, don't try to help. Don't try to help. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I'm delighted that you want to come and help me operate a chainsaw and then never having, you know, touched one in your life. But thank you. I got it. Thank you. I appreciate you. Just go sit down over there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't, you know, why should these people? No, look, I think we have to realize that there's many divisions between people in the world. And one of the divisions between people is, I think, people who are curious versus people who are not. We have to be honest. And sometimes people can be a little bit curious, and they can get a little bit of learning, and then the little bit of learning, if it comes along with it, if they haven't taken care to control their prideful impulses, to control the sin of pride, that little bit of learning informs them that they've got it now. I mean, again, that is why pride is such a deadly sin, right? Oh, I've learned a little something. I've read some books, and I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I watched the Thomas Sowell lecture, or, you know, a Milton Friedman thing. I read Free to Choose. Well, I'm good. I'm good to go now. So that's just a little bit of knowledge plus pride. Okay? So those people, they're not curious. That's the thing. I mean, like, you know, many of the things I've learned, I should say, not just about black folks, but everyone. I learned because I was curious. I learned because everyone, like, look, put it this way. When I was on the left, right? When I was on the left, a lot of the white folks around me, a lot of the lefties around me, white and black for that matter, used to talk about red state voters like this one uniform mass of people who are all stupid, you know, or a uniform mass of people who are all being misled. And at a certain point, what I said to myself was, I mean, are you sure? You know, like, maybe, like, aren't you curious? Like, what? Like, well, in other words, like, I remember someone told me, I had an argument with some guy who said, like, yeah, these people in the red states, who vote for Republicans, they don't know, they vote against their own interests. That's what he said. And that's like a common theme that you used to hear. And it wasn't even that I disagreed with them necessarily, but I was just like, well, like, how do you know what they think? How do you know how they construe their own interests? How do you know what they think is in their interest? Have you spoken to them? Have you been there? Have you asked them? I'm curious. Why aren't you? You see? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with people who think, oh yeah, these black people are just all da-da-da-da-da, and it's like they're massively incurious. They're so incurious. They so lack curiosity that they can just turn on autopilot and just cruise in that same space, Rev. I remember this one guy tried to. One of the things I said was, look, please stop saying that most black people vote for X, because that's mathematically untrue. It's numerically untrue.
Right.
The fact is, what we're seeing is, you know, most of these blue cities, for example, something like 50 or more percent of the registered black voters do not vote at all. So these elections are being driven by a minority of a minority. Right? It's like 99% of 40% is not a majority. Now, what those other people vote, those non-voters? Well, we don't know because no one has bothered to speak to them. That was my premise. I didn't say that the other 60% were diehard Republican voters. I said we don't know because no one has bothered to approach them. They're sitting out. Okay, now, this one kid jumps up and he says, well, look at Chicago, look at Milwaukee, and he's reeling off his list of cities. And I'm like, well, stop. Look at it how? Because he's calling himself refuting my point, right? He's trying to refute my point. So, well, look at Chicago, look at Baltimore, I'm like, wait, stop, just take one city. Then he gets, no, you interrupted me, and, because my brain is so fragile, I have to start all over again from the beginning of the list of the cities. And I'm like, after a while, I just lost my patience. I'm like, well, just shut the fuck up. It's like, just take one, bro. I want to hear your argument, but make it take one city. I don't know what you're telling me to look at them for. You're trying to refute my point, and it's like all I did was I pulled the numbers from open source electoral turnout data. What are you talking about? He says, well, all these cities are run by Democrats. I'm like, well, yes, yes, I didn't. What are you talking about? It's like that refutes my point. I just said that Democrats win in cities because the elections are being driven by a minority of minority. And then you proceed to tell me, no, I disagree with you. Democrats have won in these cities. Are you retarded? I'm like, oh, wait a minute. He is retarded. He is retarded. That's what I forgot. And listen, he wasn't born retarded. He retarded himself. He retarded his own mental growth. Why? Because he refused to be curious. He's probably been starting that same line about look at Chicago, look at Milwaukee, look at Baltimore, he's been the same line for the last 5 years. And it works, maybe, but he never bothered to find out what exactly I was saying and how his stupid little non-point had nothing to do with me saying that, listen, the mathematics doesn't bear you out. Go and download the charts yourself. I don't have any internet. He does. Go just download the numbers. But no, he was perfectly content to just spout some dumb tagline about look at all these cities and Democrats run them and they're mostly black. Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, they.
So you see, it's lack of curiosity. Go on.
Yeah. No. I understood what you're saying. But again, you've knocked it out of the park. When it comes to that, but like I say again, I just look at it and said, I hope these Negroes who go out there and put this stuff out in the atmosphere is actually looking for actual solutions, right? So what is plaguing the black community right now? Jobs. I mean, that if we had to think about something and say what is plaguing, I'm going to go with jobs, right? I don't know what you would go with, but what I've seen,
I'd go with the destruction of the family.
Yep. You're right.
Yeah, even once I say, yeah, I would have. I think I would have said jobs. I think jobs would have been very high on my list before I came in here. To be honest.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I found out. Well, because what I found out is that I talked to the guys in here. Even back when I was in Rikers, I just talked to people. We share our stories, whatever. And I listen to what people say. And what I realized is that, for example, a lot of the young men. So maybe for older men who are used to working and who've been thrown out of work, then yes, jobs are a problem.
Okay.
But we have a lot of young men in the black underclass. I wouldn't say. Remember, we're not talking about the whole black community. We're talking about the black underclass. So the black working class is muddling through, the black middle class is muddling through. The problem is in the black underclass. Okay. So in the black underclass, what we have is a lot of young men who have and the young men who were doing whatever they're doing in the street and getting arrested, for example, like if they were doing this or it's like they're not used to a real job. And then some people say, well, dealing drugs is a real job. No, stupid, it's not a real job. It's not. Because it's work. Don't get me wrong, dealing drugs is work. But it's not the kind of job that you get when you get into the real economy. That is to say, you get a job at Home Depot, you have to actually get out of bed at the same time every day. You got to get yourself correct. You got to wear the right clothes. You got to show up. You got to have a good attitude. You got to listen to some manager who's telling you, okay, listen, I need you to go and, we got a product spill on aisle 5 or what have you. We need you to deal with these customers, what have you. Okay. As opposed to if you hustle in the street, you just hustle. You roll out of bed, you're down in the corner with your friends and whatever, blah, 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 and at the end of the day, you got some money. That's work of a kind, but it's not the kind of work that... So there are a lot of people, is what I'm saying, more than I thought before I came in here, a lot of young men who, even if Home Depot were hiring, or any other company were hiring, they wouldn't be interested. Because that's real work. And free money, it turns out, is addictive. Now, again, the interesting thing is that by itself is not even a black thing because, everyone can get it. Free money is a temptation, is what I'm trying to say. Everyone is susceptible to that temptation. It's just that because so many of our kids in the underclass have succumbed to that temptation, it's going to take more than just greater availability of jobs to break them out of that free money addiction. And I think that people, again, where do young men learn work ethics? Where do they learn how to be citizens, how to be members of society? In the family. In the traditional family with both parents around, with a father who is at least hopefully working. So that's the thing. And by the way, when I say working, again, we need like if your father's hustling, and it's like, well, if he's doing whatever illegal stuff out there, and like he seems to just always be in money, then it's the same thing. If he doesn't have it, if you end up thinking, well, that's the kind of work for me, then you're not going to develop the right habits to actually go. And by the way, people hear me say this, well, what if you want to start your business? Well, listen, even with starting your own business, a lot of guys in here, because I know, because I've spoken with them, actually think that you can just start a business and, like, get a business. And it's like you don't have to actually know anything about, like, for example, I'll never forget a chat one day. This one kid is saying he wants to get into the welding program. We have vocational programs in here. He wants to do welding. And kid next to him is like, well, welding? Well, why are you going to do welding? You could just go outside and have a welding company. And I was like, well, how is he going to, what? Like, how is he going to have a welding company? He doesn't know how to weld first. Where's he going to, first of all, is someone just going to give him money to start a welding company? I don't know. Where's he going to get customers? If he needs to hire people, how is he going to know what to ask them or how to judge their work unless he knows the thing himself?
These are young kids?
He's a relatively young kid in their 20s, 30s max. Yeah. So it's like there's also this myth, aside from the free money on the streets problem, there's also this mythology of business. Like business has become this magic word. Like you get your LLC and then you have a business. Yes, but you have to, the business has to do something. You can't just be a generic business. And then you have to get customers. You have to service your customers. You need to have some skill sets. And I've seen again and again when I talk to young guys, when I say, hey, what do you want to do? Are you interested in this? Are you interested in, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, welding, computers? They're like, no, I just want to have a business. I've heard that over and over and over and over again, bro, since I've been inside. No, I don't want to do any of that. So I just want to have a business. What?
So
What are you talking about?
no business model. They're just going.
Well, never mind. Never mind a business model. Never mind a model. No skill sets. Because fuck a model. I mean, a model is just ink on paper. No skill sets. You know, it's like, I'm able to do this, and I want to go into business doing this thing. You don't have to have a business plan. I mean, here's the other thing. You know, no one reads business plans. No one. Like, if you go to raise money, you're going to read the first, 5 sentences of your business plan and throw the thing away. But you have to have skill sets. You have to be able to do something. And everyone seems to think that you can just get a business, and by getting a business, you make money. I talked to a guy some time ago. He was across the cell block from me when I was in a different area. I talked to a young guy who said he wants to own a laundromat. He wants to run a laundromat. I said, okay, well, what do you know about running laundromats? He said, nothing. I'm just going to get a laundromat, and then people will work for me. And it's like he had and then I'm going to get another business. Like, he had no concept that, to run a successful business, you have to be there on site all day, every day, even before your employees arrive and after they leave. And you do that for a while, and you bust your ass, and then with a little bit of luck, you become a success. He's like, no, I'm just going to get a business, and then I'm going to get another business.
Has education let these people have education just let our kids down to the point where, just like you're talking now, in order to get a business, you have to have something behind it. Like
it's not even a matter of,
they're just gonna walk out there and sign a piece of paper and then go, "That's my business."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they think. That's what a lot of them think. Exactly right. And I don't think it's a matter when you say education. If you mean the school system,
right?
I don't think it's the school system's fault so much. I think it's the look. Again, remember this liberal progressive project. Yeah. What did it involve? It involved the destruction of the family, right? It involved it involved subsidizing broken families and subsidizing illegitimacy, and very importantly, it involved warehousing poor people. You see, our neighborhoods back in the day, right? You know about this. In our neighborhoods back in the day, there were all classes kind of living cheek by jowl with each other.
Yep.
So a poor family might live next to the family of a tradesman, and there might be a black lawyer across the street and a black doctor around the corner. You see what I'm saying? And or, someone over here who maybe sells goods at the market in town or what, right? Okay. Now, so at a certain point, our young people, even if they came from a side of life where they had less, okay, could see people actually making a living. You understand what I'm saying? It's like you could, this guy makes a living. He goes somewhere and does some actual work. And, I see this guy has some skills and he's got tools and it's okay? And people were exposed to this kind of thing of making a living. Now, with the liberal and the rise of liberal and progressivism and all that stuff, what's happened is, one, again, all the poor people are living in the same place. So they don't get to see anyone who's actually making a living because remember,
right. Right.
With so many people on assistance, it's like, pretty much you get your money from the state.
Yep.
You get your money from the state. And you grow up getting a couple of people hearing they're supposed to give me this. Literally. Like, no, I'm supposed to get this. I'm supposed to get this. Right? And then you had people grifting off the black community, saying, hey, get your business administration degree. Business administration, that was a big thing in the 90s. I couldn't, in New York City, when I came back here to work in the software industry, I couldn't walk 2 steps without running into someone who was studying business administration. And a lot of our young people back then thought that you could just get a job administering someone's business for them because you have a business administration degree. It's like, well, no, it doesn't. Business doesn't work like that, right? So it's the mythology of just being a businessman generically a businessman. And it involves wearing nice clothes and having lots of money. And that's permeated the entire culture, not just education. It's permeated the entire culture. You're in business. You're a businessman. What kind of business? What are you talking about? And so because I think because that has been the emphasis as opposed to skill sets, as opposed to, make a living by knowing how to do something and doing it so well that people will pay you, right? Because that other thing has permeated the culture. This is what we get. And this, by the way, goes a fair bit toward what I'm always talking about, which is like the usurious mindset. It's like the war between usury and industry. That's a real culture war that we have here in America, the war between usury and industry. And it's one thing for people who already have millions of dollars to engage in usurious activity while they can be very successful. But poor people cannot be usurers in that way. It doesn't work. You have to have money to be a usurer. You have to have property to be a usurer.
Mm-hmm.
The avenue that's open to poor people is industry, is work, is skill sets, is excellence. And even the whole system of grants and, not the nonprofit industrial complex and a lot of the stuff that Trump is dismantling right now, that's part of the problem. That's been part of the problem. It's like, oh yeah, they're giving money out for black businesses. What do you mean for black businesses? What? So you mean just because you have a business, you literally went and got a business license and you're black and you go and you fill out a form like they're going to give you money? That's insanity. But that's what the state was doing. That's a problem.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said,
yes,
which is definitely true. Because I looked at, I'm a military brat. And one of the things that, we all as kids saw your dad or your mom, if she was in the military, going to work.
Mm-hmm.
When they built the ghettos, Cabrini Green project,
Chicago.
I'm from Harold Projects in Memphis, Tennessee. You're right. Yeah. You didn't see anybody going to work. Right?
Going to work. Right.
You didn't see, mom could have a boyfriend or as we call them, uncles, right?
Right.
Hanging out at the house. You didn't see him going nowhere. You understand what I'm saying?
Nope. No.
So I totally agree with you on that. Not seeing people going to work, actually physically putting a lunchbox in their hand or a brown paper bag, right? And walking out the door and you'd be like, where are you going? Well, I'm going to work. Not having that dad who comes home and mom tells you that you can't eat the big piece of chicken. Remember how that worked? Nobody ate the big chicken because daddy worked hard that day. So daddy gets the big piece of chicken, right? We're missing that. We're missing that in our homes, right?
That's right.
To go forward. So yeah, I definitely, when you said that, I was like, dude, brothers on the money. Let me do this here real quick. So CJ said, I agree, Dexter. Not the school system. She said teachers have stories about the mindset of young people and their delusional ideas, distorted, perverse. Yeah. So, she's pretty much saying the same thing. Josh, I will not be at my church next Sunday. I have been visiting churches during this run for lieutenant governor. I've been at other churches on Sundays, so I will let you know when I will be back at my church. But I will not be there this Sunday. Probably in a couple of Sundays from now, because I got a couple of other churches that I have to visit. So just because Josh said he wanted to swing by the church, and say hello, but
Mhm.
I'm not at my church for a couple of Sundays. I've been visiting other churches during this here swing, trying to get some of these black churches in Minneapolis to get behind our candidacy here
Yes, sir.
with everything.
Yes, sir.
But and in doing that, and that's another thing. Speaking of which, now that I'm out actually talking to these black churches, seeing what they're going to do about the fathers, right? The black father. I mean, how do we how do we make up for these, when they say, well, there's no black father. Well, there actually are black fathers in the house.
There are black fathers, exactly. There are black fathers.
But what they do, Dexter, is they find the 1, 2, 3, 4 homes that don't have a black father. And those are the ones that they pinpoint and they needle and they talk about. I can say the same thing.
Here's the thing. Maybe it's more than that. But my point is, look, a lot of, again, by talking to people and most importantly, listening to people in here, right? It confirmed what I suspected when I was outside, which was that, well, no, a lot of black fathers really, really, really want to be involved in their children's lives.
Right.
And the problem is that, like, look, all the cultural infrastructure is gone, and what we have now is a cultural and political infrastructure that wants to keep fathers away from. So these welfare systems, right, do their best to keep fathers out of children's lives. That's the problem. If we, we did away with, well, we didn't do it with, but we essentially undermined.
You have 1 minute left.
The importance of marriage, right? And we said, look, the state is going to take care of everything. So now a woman can basically say, wait, I don't want to be with you, and I'm going to go in and get a monthly check, and I won't see you around, right? That's a problem too, and a lot of women out there, unfortunately, have learned to weaponize that system against the men in their lives who still want to be around their kids.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard the 1 minute warning, so let me drop and come back. I had another thought that occurred to me as we were talking, so we can talk about that more when I come back.
Sounds like a deal. We'll talk to you then.
Yes, sir.
The caller has hung up.
All righty. Again, I just want to thank each and every one of you. Hey, CJ. Just got to say hi to CJ. And Doc. Thank you all for, again, coming and hanging out with us. We have topics that we talk about, but we go back and forth on which way we're going to go with the topics. I never tell Dexter what we're going to talk about. I just pop it up on it because I know Dexter's the type of person who will compartmentalize what we're talking about, and he'll break it all down for us. One of those deals with the way Dexter works. But for those who don't know, I always have to do this. For those who don't know, we're talking to Dexter Taylor. Like I always say, Dexter Taylor is my political prisoner who is right now in a prison in the state of New York. He is calling us right now from a cell. For those who don't know, so when we're talking to him, he's on a computer in his cell. Dexter was given 10 years for a crime, to me, he did not commit, and we're gonna keep pushing on. Oh, okay. Sounds like, how's that little one doing, Carl?
I'll talk to you tonight. A little bit fussy. That's my nephew right there. Mm-hmm.
There he goes. It's all worth it, Carl. Mm-hmm. It's all worth it. Trust me.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's the best.
For the best. People going, what did they talk about? Well, Carl is he's not really he's still a new daddy because the baby is
still a new dad.
Yeah, he's under 1 year old. Very so young. We're gonna keep him. But Carl's a new daddy. Carl had a little boy here, and and this is his first one. So Dexter and I like to sit back and ask him how he doing, because we done been through it already, so we know what he's going.
You know what he's going through. Exactly.
We know what he's going through. No ifs, ands, or buts. But you said you had a thought on something before we jetted off.
Yes, sir. One thing is that I talked about warehousing people, right? Again, this thing of in the black underclass, people not living around anyone who is showing any other example of how to make a living, how to create a living for yourself in the world. I would point out that, and you mentioned, having a dad who kind of goes out to work, right, and comes home from work. Now, what's interesting is this: even when you do have a dad who goes to work every day and comes home from, even when you might get to visit him at work, right, the temptation of the streets can be almost overwhelming, or it can be overwhelming. I mean, there's a movie that came out years ago called A Bronx Tale. A Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro played the dad, right? And I think Chaz Palminteri played like this local mobster, And this was like a working class Italian American neighborhood somewhere. I forget where, in what city. But the young kid growing up, like, he saw his dad going to work. He thought his dad was a bus driver. Sometimes he'd get on the bus and his dad would be driving the bus, right? And even with all that, and even with their kind of strong values at home, the allure of, the social club, which was like the local mafia hangout, the allure of, hey, come here, you're going to help me count this money from this gambling thing that we're doing here, and you're going to, run this package over to so-and-so and do this, and it's like, yeah, you're in here with the men. And, that was irresistible for the young boy, even though he had two parents at home and a dad who actually went to work every day. So how much worse is it when you don't have any of that? You brought up, in a house with no father. And then the other thing that's happening is, well, you're getting spoiled. A lot of the young cats I talk to in here, I watch the way they move, and it's like, wait a minute, this cat is, well, like, he's used to getting everything he wants. Like his mom's brother. His mom and his aunts or whoever, they're all, oh, yeah, give him this, give him that, what have you. And it's like, no one's ever told him no. Some of the guys in here, you look at how they're moving, and like they're moving like emotionally dysregulated children. And I even see some of the older inmates, guys more around my age, trying to talk to these young guys and saying, hey, listen, dial it back, because it's like, you're just going to make life harder for yourself and not gain any benefit when you spin off and when you go into a thing and when you start cursing up the prison guard or whatever. It's like, just chill for a minute, right? And sometimes they listen, mostly they don't. So again,
what would you say? What would you say the population, racial population in that prison is that you're in right now?
Well, here it's. It seems to be mostly black and brown. There are white folks in here. But yeah, mostly black and Hispanic. Mostly black and Hispanic, and the guards are mostly white. There are some black and Hispanic guards, but mostly white.
You have a high number of black men in prison.
Yes,
of those black men, do you think most of them have kids?
A lot of them have kids.
So a lot of them have kids.
And here's the other problem, right? The older guys, like when you talk to the older guys, they talk about their kids, and it's like they a lot of them still feel that connection to home, and still they're trying to be involved in their kids' lives, albeit remotely. But I see a lot of the younger guys simply don't care. They may have 3 or 4 girlfriends,
right?
And then they have kids with all those girlfriends.
That's
You know
what I
I'm
was
saying?
going to ask. That's where I was going next.
Yeah, this is it. Yes, exactly. And it's like it's in other words, it's worse than it used to be. I think, and that's just a gut feeling I have. It's nothing scientific. It's just it's worse than it used to be.
No. When I go to the jail, right, and I'm talking to somebody, and I was going to say, and I'm talking to these young boys, and
yes.
you know, he's got 2 or 3 girls coming up to.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
And 2 of the 3 girls have his baby, and I'm sitting here going,
that's right.
That's the problem that we're having when we're talking about dealing with these here young kids who are having kids, and then they're locked up, so there's nothing they can do for this kid, and now the mom is more than likely on welfare.
Right. And you see when it's, you know, for the older guys who are incarcerated here, you know, they if they've been successful out in the street doing whatever they do, then they're more likely to be able to send money, and a lot of them do send money, right, to their wives or the mothers of their children or what have you. But for the younger guys, it's a different story, right? So yeah, this is a real problem, and again, it's a problem in the underclass. You know, middle class black folks, by and large, still understand, even if only instinctively, that you want to have something like an intact family. But there again, we've constructed a whole we've created a whole structure that acts against the family. No fault divorce is a problem. Punitive judgment, overly punitive judgment against fathers in the case of divorce or breakup, that is a problem. And also just the cultural symbols, the people and the habits that we elevate and that we're showing people all the time, don't indicate anything good. Don't indicate that there's anything good about marriage, especially for young men. You know, so like young men don't have an incentive really to get married, right? And that's a problem. You know, you and I have talked before about the church and the decline of religion. That's one of the effects. If you have, you know, if the churches are social centers of gravity, where everyone goes and everyone knows you and you know everybody, then the eyes of your neighbors are on you. And so the community values are it's a force multiplier for community values. And so even if young boys might sneak around and do whatever, you know, at some level they're like, well, yeah, I don't want to be seen doing this, you know. And at some level they know, I have to actually, at some age, I'm gonna have to straighten myself right. But that's gone, right? And I'll tell you what else has gone with the decline of religion is the absence. What's gone away is a fundamental theological concept, and I would say it's not exclusively a Christian concept, but it is a Christian concept, and that's one of sacrifice. You open up the scriptures, and it's like everywhere you look, there's stories about sacrifice. And that's very important because, you know, at a certain point, young people have to learn, they need to learn, that what is required is to throw something into the future, to give up something now in favor of something that you will want at some point, to sacrifice. And absent any kind of religious guidance, absent any family guidance, absent any coherent community standards, what you get is the standards of popular culture, which these days are all about, well, have everything you want right now because you deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the culture that's built up around government assistance. Again, you know, it's so funny that I can count on one hand the number of people I've talked to and the number of prisoners I've talked to in here who get it when I say, listen, a simple gun charge is not supposed to be a thing because you have a right to keep in their arms. Like, cats don't know what their rights are as far as, you know, constitutional rights, right? But they know what you're supposed to get from the government if someone's on assistance. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to give you this. They're supposed to give you that, but not what your actual rights are.
Oh, I believe that.
Because those are just entitlements.
I mean,
you know,
right.
You're supposed to get this money and this supposed to, that's just an entitlement. But a right is different. And so again, this is a problem.
I mean, if
again, it's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's one of those. If mom and dad don't know what their rights are, they're not going to teach you what
correct
your rights are. You know what I mean?
Your
mom and dad don't carry a firearm or use firearms. They're not going to look into it. So therefore, I'm not going to look into it. But I'm looking at this thing going, what's the solution here?
There is no one solution.
Right. What I was thinking is you came up, you did say something in a way of saying how the black church has let a lot of black people down. Because back in the day, you went to church and you learned about being a man. You learned about being a father. You got to see fathers. You got to see the deacons. The deacons were there to help you and things of that sort to become a man, even if you didn't have a father in your house. You had a deacon there. You had somebody in the community whose dad was pretty much overseer, right? You had 4 or 5 dads in the community. If you did wrong, you were going to see one of those. We don't have that. Dude, when I'm out, if I go downtown this, if I had went downtown this weekend, because we're going to talk about this in a second. We're going to talk about George Floyd.
Yeah.
But because they was having all these George Floyd even if they was not having all this stuff, George Floyd. But if I was to go downtown on a Saturday, which I do, I'll go downtown and then I try to talk to these kids. I don't call myself talking to them anymore because they call me names and tell me I'm this and I'm that and all this here. We don't have kids anymore that listen. That has respect enough for an elder when an elder is saying at 1:00 in the morning, you're 14 years old, you're a little girl, you should not be out here on these streets.
Correct.
We don't have that in the community anymore. Right?
Right.
At all. The church was instrumental in making sure that as a you're in church, like I said, you screw up, you're going to get it from the front all the way to the back or from the back to the front. Mm-hmm. Somebody was going to get you. Right. We don't have that much. We don't have that anymore in the community.
Well, I mean, I would say the authority of the church is just like the authority of the schools. It's built on the family. It rests on the foundation of the family. In other words, it is the respect, back in the day, it was the respect that your parents had for the church and for the elders of the church or what have you, and for their neighbors, for the opinions of their neighbors. It was that helped keep you straight, But again, if all you have now, instead of families, you all have a bunch of baby mamas running around, well, that's not anything. That's not anything coherent. I even attribute that to why there's not more of a political push to reform prison conditions, right? When something goes wrong in the prisons, when you find that they're being run in a way that's exploitative or what have you, or corrupt or anything like that, the problem is that we don't have families on the outside for the most part that are advocating for prisoners. You have, again, because there's a bunch of guys and a bunch of baby mamas outside. Well, they're not going to network with each other. Mm-hmm. They're not going to get a mailing list together. They're not going to, because they're, they have no connection other than through this man, right? And that's a point of jealousy, not a point of connection, really, right? It's families. It's families that get together and say, hey, we've got to do something about this, right? So, yeah, the destruction of the family really toppled over an enormous number of things that we really needed to have. Again, the schools cannot work unless the families work.
Yep.
Because the authority of a school teacher comes from the family. It's the expectations of your family, of your mother and your father. And again, their neighbors and their friends, that keep you straight when you're in school. It's in the family that you learn that social capital is developed in the first place, that you learn to respect legitimate authority. Right? So, this is a problem, and this is why, as much as, like, if you run down the list of real or proposed budget cuts from this administration, I might not agree with every single one of them, but I do agree with starting to dismantle this system, because it's a terrible system. There's too much free money from the government floating around, from federal and state governments floating around. There are too many incentives for illegitimacy and for broken families. We can't have that. And you'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised at how many of the guys in here are like, yeah, they need to cut that money. It's ridiculous. So even in here, you find very strong conservative sentiment. Because at some level, these guys get it, even if they didn't get it right in their lives. Again, the older guys I'm talking about, guys closer to my age, even if they didn't get it right in their lives, they get it about what's happening out there, what's happening with families, what's happening with women and kids and fathers and so on. They get it, and they understand that this can't be allowed to go on. This is killing us. This is killing us.
Right.
And that's what I mean. When I say, like, you might think Trump is this or Republicans are that. Well, fine. But at the end of the day, these liberals and progressives are killing us. So, so that's the thing. And yeah, so it doesn't help. It really doesn't help to have black folks who, middle class black folks running around saying, what's wrong with black people? And he said, don't be stupid.
Right.
Again, people, the thing about curiosity, look, I mean, come on, man. It's like I could, I've done it. I've done YouTube searches and looked up videos of, like, people, street gangs running wild, in other countries than the U.S., places where there are no black people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, what do you think? Who do you think is running around causing havoc in the slums of China? Stupid. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, I saw a guy try to get into a fight. Actually, get into a physical fight with a female mass transit employee. This was in China. It was like the Chinese subway. Some major city in China. He was getting a fight with this female employee because she tried to admonish him because he was letting his kid, urinate on the tracks. And she came up and said something, and he got upset and got physical. I mean, that's China.
I mean, anywhere you go, anywhere you go, there's going to be there's going to be problems. But and again, my whole thing is when you have boneheads that decide that they're going to try to call out one group of people when we know for a fact. Look, I lived in Risley. I lived in Risley, West Virginia. Don't even get me started, because I can tell you some things about Risley, West Virginia that you look at and go, wow. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, like I always say, you know what? I want to hear the solution. Don't get me. Hold on. I hold on 1 second, and then we got to talk about because it is the anniversary here, and I've been down to George Floyd Square most of the day today, and a couple of other places. But what I'm saying is, I've got this thing on here that says impact of violence on blacks, percentage in America. It's that type of stuff that cracks me up. But anyway, that's a different story. So today is the day. The day is today. Matter of fact, in a few minutes here, we can put it down as George Floyd died at this time on today, and we had celebrations all throughout the city, all throughout the city and Twin Cities. I went to one yesterday. Went down to George Floyd Square today. They was having celebrations and things down there, end of life type things going on. Then I went over to the police department where the so-called leaders here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, decided to give up that police station, which was I can tell you right now, because like I said, I was there when it happened. I was there when the police left this place, and everybody's standing around going, "What do we do now?" And then a bunch of boneheads decided to go in the police station. I mean, the shocking part about this, Dexter, is they took the fence off so people can basically go on the grounds, and then they left the doors unlocked. Think about this for a second.
Yeah.
They left the doors unlocked. See, people don't know that. People don't talk about that enough. Right? So we're winding down. I think the last thing they're going to be doing tonight in like 5 different locations is they're going to be doing a balloon release for George Floyd. So yeah, it's been it's been Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of George Floyd talk here in Minnesota.
I gotta say, I have a real problem with listen, separate from the fact that he died in the first place, I have a real problem with like, I don't know. I mean, look, we have a tradition, our own tradition in the Black community of celebrating people who've achieved things, who've done things. It seems to me that George Floyd was a victim of a few things. His own shortcomings as a human being, if we're honest, along with the shortcomings in policing, let's say, right? Both things can be true, and I think both things are true, right? And the problem around, to me, things like the killing of George Floyd is that people, I often, when I was doing the spaces and chats and things like that on the outside, I used to quote C.S. Lewis, who said that the devil sends deceptions into the world 2 at a time as pairs of opposites, so that when you lurch back from one, you stumble into the other. Now, it seems to me that kind of thing is evident when something happens like the killing of George Floyd. In other words, you'll have people saying, well, George Floyd was some kind of saint or some kind of hero, and whatever. Okay. And, people say, well, in rejecting that, they go right to, well, George Floyd is the sum of all evil. You know what I'm saying? And he deserved what he got. Look, again, both things can be true. That George Floyd was kind of a screw up, right? As a person, habitual criminal, substance abuser, what have you. Okay, and it's also true that it can also be true that, like, well, look, that's not how you arrest somebody. You know what I'm saying? Someone who's resisting.
Right.
Like, there's different ways you can do these things, right? And the policeman himself should have gone another way. But that the problem is that kind of nuance and complexity is not really, it doesn't make for like political potency. It doesn't make for like a shocking spectacle. And unfortunately, many of us are really into the politics of the spectacle, right? And it's almost as if we think that no one will listen and no one will pay attention unless you make a spectacle. But the problem is that in making a spectacle, what you also do is you kind of blot out all the interesting little complexities that make that go to making it a real story. Like you're no longer telling the real story of what happened. You're mythologizing this human being, and maybe he doesn't deserve to be mythologized. Maybe he just deserves to be seen as a human being, because of course that's what he was. He was a human being. That's it. In other words, I don't have to believe that George Floyd was this awesome person. I just like he's a person. That's it.
Yeah, he's an everyday,
how do we want
everyday person.
Right. Yeah. How do we want? How should police deal with people? Right. Maybe people who have done something wrong, people who need to be arrested, whatever. That's the question. And we can get somewhere useful if that's the question. But if the thing is, well, George Floyd is a symbol of the then it's like now it's a slogan, now it's a thing. Now you put his name on a street or on a square or what have you, and now we're off to the races in some other whole direction that at the end of the day doesn't even do us any good. Remember that these protests that started up and some of them got violent, what have you. At the end of the day, if you want to attribute it to Black Lives Matter, for example, we have to be honest, Black Lives Matter didn't accomplish a hell of a lot in terms of actually changing the way policing is done in our cities. They didn't. They didn't set up. I was in lots of arguments. Right.
I don't think that's what they actually set out to do. I think.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah. To make a difference. They didn't set out to make a difference. The Black Lives Matter nationally came in to try to push a agenda that was so far.
That's right.
That you're right. That was radical, in every way, every way, shape, or form. When it comes down to it, it was radically bad and wrong. That's right. Nothing wrong with being radical. It just means getting down to the roots. But it's like you're radically bad. Your ideas are radically wrong. Like I said, I read the Black Lives Matter manifesto before they changed it, and as soon as I saw that they wanted to eliminate the traditional family, I'm like, okay, declaration of war accepted. Right.
This organization is the enemy. This organization is the enemy of Black progress.
And I don't think a lot of people picked up on that. I really don't. I think what a lot of Black people ran with is just the notion that here is a organization that's out fighting for Black people. That's the mindset, right? Yeah. That a lot of Black people had.
That's a lot of people. I mean, listen, come on, man.
Well, white people too. Well, white people too.
There was a lot. There was a huge number of white folks who were like, yeah, Black Lives Matter.
You should have seen them. You should have seen them today down at George Floyd Square. Holy smoke! I'm sitting there going.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was. They come early. Well, they come early. They come. Right, they come early in the day. Then at night, the band, like right now, the band is down there. They got a band. They got D1, who is a Christian rapper, big time. He's there. Mm-hmm. So all the Black people will be down there. You got your minute going on there, Dex.
Yeah. Let me drop and come back and do a last segment.
Sounds like a deal. That works for me, bro.
Yep.
The caller has hung up.
All right. Again, I always have to do that. Like just to remind people what we do here on Sundays. Again, this is, and I thank each and every one of you for definitely coming hanging out with us again. I mean, we get this many people in a room, in a space, just to. You didn't come for me. You came for Dexter. So let's be right. Let's be right on that. But for those who don't understand and realize what we do is we give Dexter an opportunity to come out and talk and just speak his mind. We got to keep him. We got to keep his mind right. If you have never been behind the walls of prison, you would never understand it. Even when I would go. Even when I would go to prisons, and because I was a mentor, I was a prison mentor for 17 years. And even when I would go to the prison, knowing I was coming out, No one else coming out. There's no way in the world they're going to keep me. There's no way in the world they're going to lock me up, right? Because I haven't done anything. I'm going to see a prisoner. Even knowing that. Once you hear them clank clank and those doors are closing, it does something to your psyche. It really, really, honestly does. To your psyche there. So we like to give Dexter this opportunity. We got to keep him sharp. Because when he gets out, that's what we need. When we need him out of here real quick. But no, we was going into George Floyd.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say this here to you. I don't know if you kept up with who Philando Castile is. You know who he is?
Yes, I know about the. Yes, I know.
Okay. Yes. He was George Floyd. He was. If that cop had went to jail, like he's supposed to, because that cop murdered that kid. That was murder. That was murder on video with no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We can talk about George Floyd, and we can talk about if the knee was on the neck or if the knee was on the back. That's fine. We can have that conversation. But what was done to Philando Castile was flat murder, and that police officer got away.
Well, here's why I think here's why I disagree with you. I think that cop, the cop who killed Philando Castile, when I think murder, I think premeditated. Like he got up in the morning and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bag me a black person today." I don't think that's what happened. From what I can see, and it's been a while since I reviewed the facts of the case, but it seems to me that cop, basically, the problem is that with the cop in that case, he was a pussy and he panicked. That's the problem. Like first of all, he made a number of very serious errors in how he conducted the traffic stop in the first place, which I didn't hear a lot of people talking about. First of all, he from what I remember, even where he stood in relation to the driver, he was standing in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should have been standing in the back of the pillar, the kind of the central pillar on the side of the car, like that divides the two windows, the front side and the rear side window. Yep. Because that way, and there's a reason cops stand there when they do a stop. It's because if the driver is going to, pull something, right, and attack you, he's got to do a lot of movement to actually draw down on you because you're standing kind of to the side and behind him. But I believe this cop was standing more or less in front of him. And to the side.
Yep,
of
by the
driver,
mirror.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Right. So that's a problem. So and then he probably wasn't listening too well, because if you heard him say, it's like, have a firearm and this and that, it's like, but I think the dude panicked. So to me, that's not murder, that's manslaughter. In any case, that should be an automatic career-ending event. We can't use you. You're not built for this job. And also, manslaughter, certainly, negligent homicide, certainly. In other words, you failed to perform your duties properly. And as a result of your abject failure as a police officer, you took a life you didn't have to take. Right?
Right.
And I wouldn't even say, like, when you say he's George, I wouldn't even say he's George Floyd, because that's like elevating George Floyd. Philando Castile is a person whose death should have been looked into more deeply. The organizations such as the NRA, which was deafeningly silent,
mm-hmm.
should have spoken up, right? And they didn't. This tells us a lot about the state of things in our politics around policing, in our politics around farms, in our politics around black citizens, and the way they're sometimes policed. But at the end of the day, this guy, that's from what I can see, he panicked. He was just, and he even when Castillo told him, he says, yes, I have a firearm and I have papers for it or whatever, and the guy goes to retrieve his firearm from retention or wherever it is, and he shoots the guy dead. It's like, dude panicked.
Yeah.
And you know something? We can't have panicky police around. We can't have that.
Not like that. Not like that. So what I mean by Philando Castile was supposed to be the George Floyd, meaning because of what went down, the gatekeepers were able to get out in front. They were able to get out in front of get out in front of the Philando Castile situation, and to pretty much quell everybody down. If the gatekeepers, if they would have done the same thing what they did here with George Floyd, and nobody got in front of it, the gatekeepers stayed away, the officials stayed away. If they would have done the same thing, then you would have saw that with Philando Castile. But because they were able to put a cap on it, and then the next time something happened after that happened to be George Floyd, that's when everything blew up. But if that cop would have went to jail, what I can tell you, if that cop would have went to jail, we wouldn't have George Floyd. If that cop would have went to jail, we wouldn't have George Floyd.
I mean, that's interesting. I can't say one way or another. I never thought about it that way.
No, we wouldn't have the riots. We wouldn't have the riots. We wouldn't have the burning of buildings.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Here's the thing, though. It wasn't. See, to me, I look at it differently. The riots and the burning and all the disorder that we had after George Floyd wasn't because someone failed to keep a cap on something. These things were ginned up. I mean,
no.
That's how I saw it. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. Wait a minute. I didn't see the George Floyd riots as something that was organic. They were sending people around, okay, to kind of how can I say, to rile up the crowd.
That's why. That's why I say if they done the same thing during Philando Castile, that would have been the riots. That's when everybody was ready to go, right? But they were able to.
That would have been wrong. But that would have been wrong in that case too, because again, how many times do we need to have these riots in the wake of something and then nothing changes afterward? In other words, the riots end up being the perfect political cover.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Incompetent police departments, because then they end up cracking down sooner or later anyway, and then everyone forgets that there were all these systemic problems in the police department that never got fixed. Look, the similar thing with the whole hands up, don't shoot thing. There's a lot of symbolism and a lot of marching, a lot of maybe even some violence behind what happened to that kid in Ferguson.
Michael Brown. Right?
And again, Michael Brown. And again, that was a complicated matter because Michael Brown clearly did something wrong. Like he stole merchandise from a store just before. And he was walking down the street, and then this cop stops him. Again, the cop made several tactical errors. Yeah. And then Michael Brown, to me, in an attempt to impress the guy he was walking with, dialed it up against the cop and went kinetic, and next thing you know, he gets shot. Okay? And then the feds came down and investigated Ferguson and found that there was a whole lot going wrong in Ferguson with policing and citizens.
Well, they did the same thing here. They did the same thing here in Minneapolis too.
And were any of those? And did we have any reforms on the back of that?
Oh no.
That's what I'm saying.
I got on the mayor just today because the mayor tried to sit there and say, the mayor said he put out a tweet. And in that tweet, the mayor had said that he was responsible for the Minneapolis Police Department, which is true. That the mayor, when he was out campaigning. Now watch this.
Yeah.
So he's out campaigning to be the mayor, to be the mayor again. In his campaign speech, what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd.
George Floyd. Yeah.
The mayor was running on banning that. That's why he got elected, because he said he was going to ban that very maneuver, and he never did. Not only that,
well, I would say,
but he said he was going to ban no-knock warrants. while he was running, right? And then all of a sudden, a young kid got shot who got off the couch, who had a right to have a gun, running from the police, and they shot him during a no-knock warrant. Everything this mayor has done. But here's the deal with this mayor, though. The people who are running against him are worse than he is. Yeah, that's why he wins.
Often the way it goes.
Right. That's why he wins all the time. Because if they turn the city over to a couple of the people who are running right now, there won't be a police department. Literally. They want to literally get rid of the police department here in Minneapolis.
Well, I mean, I would say that even those people, even the people who say they want to get rid of the police, that they talk a good game, but they wouldn't even. I have a doubt as to whether they would even follow through with that. I mean, they'd mismanage it certainly, but get rid of it. I mean, they wouldn't even know how to go about that. But look, here's what I'm saying. So here's how you can tell, right? The incompetence. It's like, okay, so we're going to ban this one thing. No thought about, no thought about training, no thought about police culture, no thought about any of that other stuff. It's a band-aid on a chest wound, basically. And that's kind of how that. Unfortunately, that's how things go very often. I mean, I would say, look, going back to the thing you said about Philando Castile, again, I don't think it's good. It was good for the so-called gatekeepers to gin up these disturbances. I don't think it would have been good in the case of Philando Castile. That's what I'm saying. Like we don't need. Put it this way, when young men, period. But let's say we're talking about black men. Young black men get shot by police. Or let's say lose their lives in use of force incidents. Right. We don't want or need riots or civic disturbance. Again, this is how these lefty progressive municipal governments, escape accountability. This is how they do it. Okay, it's almost like a well-rehearsed dance at this point. There's now we're having widespread disturbances and this and that and whatever. It's more, to me, it's more street theater along the lines of Black Lives Matter street theater. At the end of the day, we don't need theater. We need people with good ideas, with better ideas. And like we said, Black Lives Matter didn't end up changing anything for the better in terms of the way our streets are policed. That's a problem. And by the way, look, long before George Floyd, I was talking and writing about things that we could do to actually, material changes you could make in policing that might give us better policing. One thing we could do is in places where it's practical, that is where you can actually walk around and bring back beat policing, have more people walking around and getting to know the people in the community.
Yeah. Yep, that would be awesome.
I said we should have a cool down period for DAs who want to run for higher office, because a lot of district attorneys, they make a career out of coddling bad police and bad policing practices and kind of tough on crime their way to higher office. If you were to tell a DA that having served as DA, he has to wait at least a year before he runs for, let's say, governor or whatever, then that might lessen some of the incentives that these, or 2 years or whatever, it might lessen some of the incentives these DAs have to coddle bad police, to shield bad police. You could have, so in some places they put in these civilian review boards. In many cases, they're toothless because they don't have any subpoena power, right? In some places, look, we have police departments where the chief of police reports to the mayor. Well, maybe if you turn that around and went back to kind of, I think what I heard someone call a constitutional sheriff. We have a sheriff who's elected, and every officer is basically a sheriff's deputy. Well, at least then that office is more accountable to the people. As it is now, the police commissioner is not accountable to the people at all. He or she serves at the pleasure of the mayor. That's a problem. So there are many things. There are many things that we could try, okay, to improve this state of affairs. The problem is that at the end of the day, the people running blue cities and the people ginning up these protests in the blue cities are both on the same side.
That's true.
That's really the problem.
That's true. No,
right?
no, that
you got
is.
a lefty, you got a progressive, right? You got a progressive in City
Yeah.
Hall, and you got progressive saying, "Yeah, we need to march on City Hall." It's like what?
Yeah,
You know, that's
exactly.
Satan casting out Satan. It can't happen. You know what I'm saying? So you know, so that you know. And you asked about solutions. I mean, there is no one solution. That's the thing. Systems get this complicated, and there's no switch we can flip to make the system work well. I would say that, you know, size, you know, scale matters and accountability matters. The smaller, when you dial things down so they operate on a smaller scale, what it means is that it's more easy to get a handle on them and reason about them, and so you have a better shot at fixing what's wrong with them. That goes for policing too. Again, I've been advocating for years that, you know, blue city mayors need to go ahead and respect the Second Amendment so that men of good character in blighted neighborhoods can arm up and patrol their own streets. Give the police less to do.
Yeah.
By all means, have them get radios and liaise with the cops on whatever frequency and this, but let the men who are from these places actually police the streets. Control the streets at the very least. Maybe they can't make arrests, but at least, you know, they can walk around with long guns and they can be seen and they can be a deterrent. You know, small. Get small, get local. Get small, get local. Because everyone wants to go in the other direction. Now we're going to have a big new thing and a big new thing when they have more and more. It's like, well, no, small and local. Because the problem is that some of these systems, some of these institutions are so big, you can't get a handle on them. There's no one person, you know, you can go to and say, hey, change this. And he's like, okay, good to go. No, because it's this whole mess. Make it small. Make it local. Make it, you know, more accountable, more, you know, so that you can reason about it better, so you have a better shot at fixing things. Maybe that's our best shot going forward. You know, taking things out of the hands of governments, whether it's federal or state or municipal, putting it back in the hands of the people and keeping things small. It doesn't mean we're not going to have bad outcomes, but it does mean that in the case of bad outcomes, we'll be better able to reason about what went wrong. As opposed to, well, it's this giant department with 50,000 people in it, and what happened? Well, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No.
That's what I'd say.
No. You're definitely right about that, and I think getting into the black community and getting these kids educated, that's another thing that we are looking to do, because I think that's going to help us out a lot. That's one of the problems that we're having. A lot of these kids, like the younger class that you got in there. I mean, how many of those guys in there are getting their GEDs and things of that sort? Because that's pretty much what we got going on in the black community. Half these kids they're not graduating. They're leaving school before they have a diploma or anything, and nobody's going to hire them.
Well, here's the thing. If you, I would say maybe not. Look, put it this way: if you leave school, if you don't, I mean, look, yes, you should know the base, how to read, how to write, how to reckon, how to do arithmetic, right? And through the basic skills, okay. But look, if you leave high school, if you never graduate from high school, but you have those basic skills plus a trade, you can make money. Like that's the thing. Let's keep in mind that if you need to hire, you know, the wrought iron fence in front of your house is cracked or whatever, you need a welder. You know, you may call someone, hey, you know the one who could do some welding, blah blah blah, this weekend, and they may give you someone's name, and yeah, this guy's pretty good, whatever. And the guy comes on, you don't care whether he has his GED or not. Can you weld? That's it. You know, guys who actually graduate from a vocational program, like a welding program, you know, if they got a welding cert or two under their belt, they can go around and get hired. No one cares if they graduated from high school. What they care about is that they have a minimum skill set. And so I would say education, but not in the institutional sense, in the sense of there are minimal skill sets that our people need in order to be functional. And I personally don't care where they get those skill sets, as long as they get them. And again, there's the basic stuff, the reading, writing, basic arithmetic, kind of these, some basic skills that you can get from school or get from outside school, and then some kind of skill that will let you walk around and make money.
Mm-hmm.
Plumbing, electrical, carpentry, painting, HVAC. HVAC is a really good one. If you know HVAC, you get paid when it's hot outside. You get paid when it's cold outside.
That's what my oldest son. He's a technician, HVAC technician.
Oh, HVAC. Oh, yeah. That's good
so
stuff.
he's making good money.
He's making good money. Yes, he is. But again, for kids to be interested in that, they need to come from a background where they understand the importance of actually earning money in the real economy, not the shadow economy.
Sure.
I'll tell you an interesting story. One of the guys on this tier, he used to be a couple cells down from me. He talked about he's from North Carolina, and we call him Carolina, and talk about a friend of his. Back when he was younger, and he and his friends were running around doing their thing, causing trouble in the streets. But it's like this one kid who actually did have a mother and father at home. This one kid was a genius at fixing cars, because his dad was a car mechanic, and he grew up seeing his dad fix cars and do stuff for people, what have you. And I'll never forget it, because he told me, this guy, he said we would. When he says we, he's talking about him and other like young gangsters in the crew. He said we would try to get him not to go out with us, And he said we told him we're not going to get out of here, but you can. So do what you need to do, hit those books and get the hell out of here. And this kid, again, still, as I said before, the temptation of the streets was so great that this kid wanted to go out with them and get involved in what they were doing, and they were trying to dissuade him, like, no, you need to do this, you need to mess with these cars, because that's what's going to get you out of here. Thank God that the kid did all right, and I think last time Carolina heard about him, he was about to get a job with, he got a job with in a Cummins plant, working on diesel engines and stuff like that, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see what I'm saying? So
no, that's what we need, man.
Education. He didn't learn. This kid didn't learn about cars in school. He learned from his dad. So my thing is, if we can get people the skill sets they need, I don't care where the skill sets come from, but we have to remember too that your willingness to sit down and absorb skills from someone else and respect superior experience and so on, and superior knowledge, that willingness, that ability, that discipline comes from the family. So no matter what else we do, we've got to take some big steps to rebuild the family. And then everything else we want to build, everything else we want to do, all the reforms, that can come on top of that. And I think it's doable. It's just a matter of political will and time.
Understood. Hey, so I've got to do some commercializing here. I still have not asked Soto if he still has hats.
I think Soto was going off grid, or
is he?
He's unreachable these days. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to figure out how to source them from somewhere else.
Okay.
I was talking to Carl about it. It's like, we can't get this to Soto, so we got to figure it out.
Okay, then I'll wait until I get words about. Even though I got my red one on tonight on that, but. Here's what I want to ask the people, everybody who's on here, almost 1,000 people again, if we can borrow $2. I mean, I'm just saying, because see, in order for us to talk to Dexter, Carl pays for these phone calls, and. I have to pay for this here screaming thing also, but I don't care. I don't want Carl having to keep paying out of his pocket for these phone calls. So I'm asking everybody who's on here. I'm gonna get Carl to put his information on here, so you know where it'll be on my page or on Carl's page, one or the other. And for those who don't know, Carl is the one in the background who. The reason you're here probably is because Carl was putting this out, and you was like, "Hey, let's go see what's going on over there with Dexter and Rev C this weekend." But if you can go to Carl's page, and he's got on there where he's basically going, "Hey, can you help me out a little bit with these phone calls?" Because we enjoy talking to Dexter, we enjoy getting him on here and things of that sort. But if you can send him like $2, I mean, if everybody on here sends him like $2, right? We've got enough to probably carry us for a couple of months. So if I can beg you all, $2, $3, even if you got $5, if you say, you know what, I can give up that choco mocha latte or whatever coffee you drink in the morning, and send it over there to Carl, and so Carl can put that to good use. So we can keep Dexter on, and keep talking to him and things of that sort. If y'all can do that, we'd definitely appreciate it. I mean, like I said before, $2, $3, be cool. If y'all could hit him up, hit Carl up, and get him a couple dollars over there. So on Sundays, this is what we can do with Dexter. We'll definitely appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
yeah, it's always good to chop it up with you on a Saturday.
Yes,
on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, yes, it is, sir. I enjoy. Like I said, I enjoy. I was munching. I was looking at the clock, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and eat. So I was munching by the time, because I thought for sure I was like 7 o'clock roll around, we'll be ready to go. But a little bit afterwards, that'll work. But yeah, I call myself munching because the wife, she did. I love her tacos. I love them to death. So she did the tacos tonight. So I had to knock. Yeah. I had to knock one of those out first, man. I was like,
there you go.
Get do that,
man. You got me reminiscing now because my ex fiance used to make. She was from Mexico. And she used to make some tacos that would knock your socks off. I mean, she used to put down some fire.
Right. Yeah. We have to. My wife's brother dates a girl from. I mean, she's straight out of Mexico. And oh my God, you talking about the enchiladas? When I go down, he's in short. God. Yeah. You see where I'm going with this, but he's in Shorts, Texas, all the way down in Shorts, Texas.
Oh yeah.
So when we go down there to Texas, I mean, just authentic Mexican food. We eat the whole week that I'm down there, and I leave there. I've gained probably a good 6-7 pounds by the time.
Yeah. All right. That's all right. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. So, we're getting close to the end of the segment. Minute Maid is gonna chime in any second. So, yeah, man. As always, a real pleasure. Just getting on with you. And well, wait a minute. Hang on. What time is it where you are? And are we Are we good to go? Or did we go long or what?
No, we're over just a little bit. It's like 9:30
to wrap up.
Yeah, it's like 9:30.
Okay, cool. Yeah, brother. So always good to be with you, man. And hopefully I'll soon, God willing, I'll be doing this from the outside.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. We cannot wait.
You have 1 minute left.
Cannot wait for that to happen.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no.
All right, bro. So God bless you and your whole family. Shout out to Carl and his family. Carl especially has just been a soldier, this whole time and helping me get the word out and what have you. And we're going to be doing a lot more content online. So hopefully I'll be talking to people, interacting with people in chat rooms and space and what have you, a lot more.
Sounds like a deal. So anytime you see Carl got one open, I'm sure Carl will have a couple of spaces open with you in there. Like I said, most of the time I'm just in there to listen. I am in and out of the spaces because, like I said, I get you on Sunday, and I give everybody opportunity to be able to talk to you and things of that sort. So I don't like to interrupt. I don't like to interrupt those spaces.
Thank you for using Securus.
And
Goodbye.
there he goes. So Dexter is done on tonight. Carl, see if Carl's still there.
Yes, sir.
Want to roll off on anything tonight that we talked about, or?
Few things. I appreciate everybody listening tonight. You guys are doing a great job of promoting, sharing the content with us, or whether it's in the paper or even when relevant on Sunday. Guys always show up and get the word out about the show. So I appreciate that. As far as the topic goes, I'm still down for now, so I wasn't really able to listen. So I keep checking it. Post a tweet about Black Fathers and stuff like that. Black Father and the perception that Black Fathers aren't their children's lives.
You're going in and out.
It's a misconception. People shouldn't listen to that. But I want everybody to know that Dexter will be in a lot of spaces. In addition to being Dexter's friend about his life. So if you want to listen to him and hear him, when he calls me, be sure to be safe. And if there is anyone out there with a mic that's on tonight, if you want to,
yeah, you're breaking up, Carl.
Yeah, that should be everything will be better now. If you want to listen, if you want Dexter on your show, reach out to me. I'll reach out to him and let him know, and we can set something up. So that's about it. I appreciate everyone. So
I appreciate you too, Carl.
Again for hosting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I definitely appreciate everything that you do. Also, like I said, throw that link on my page to where they can donate to help with some of the money, the costs for the phone calls. Not asking to break your bank or you to write us $1 million check, but if you got $1 million, trust me, we will take it. But $2, $3, $4, you got $5, you can send that to us. We'll definitely appreciate that. So we are done for tonight. Hey, y'all have a good week. I will be back on Monday. A few things that we're going to be talking about on Monday. We definitely going to break down the situation with the George Floyd weekend that they had. Get that broken down, and we'll talk about a few other things. Y'all have a good night. We'll talk to you soon. Peace, fam, and we're out.